You Jake Sully?
I'd like to talk to you about a fresh start on a new world.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are on Pandora. We have an indigenous population called the Na'vi. They are very hard to kill.
Where?
Jake Sully is a disabled Marine veteran stuck in a dull routine back in the States. His days are filled with regret, bar fights, and memories of his old glory days. What he doesn't realize is that everything is about to change. One day, government officials approach him with shocking news. His twin brother, Tom, has been killed. Jake is heartbroken, but the officials have a proposal. They want him to step in and finish the work his brother started. Tom had been set to take part in a mission to a recently discovered planet called Pandora, a world that appears capable of sustaining life much like Earth. At first, Jake is unsure, but once he learns the job pays millions, he signs on. To begin the journey, he's placed into cryosleep for 6 years. When he wakes up, he's among a group of passengers headed straight for Pandora. Jake was chosen because his DNA is a perfect match with his brother's, which makes him eligible to use Tom's avatar. Upon arrival, Jake and the rest of the crew are transported down to Pandora in a shuttle. They're instructed to wear respirators at all times. The air is toxic, and just 20 seconds of exposure can kill a human in about 4 minutes.
Go! Look at all this fresh meat! Woo!
Look out, Hot Rod!
After landing, Jake attends a military briefing led by Colonel Miles Quaritch. The colonel warns the soldiers and civilians that Pandora is home to the native people known as the Na'vi, and the only way to survive here is to respect the rules. Later, Jake visits a science facility and meets Norm Spellman, a biologist, who introduces him to his avatar for the first time. It's explained that humans can link their minds to genetically engineered Na'vi bodies, avatars, allowing them to move, act, and live among Pandora's natives. As Jake and Norm tour the lab, they meet Dr. Grace Augustine, the head of the Avatar program, who connects to her own avatar through a specialized pod. Norm tries to introduce Jake, but Grace, clearly irritated, storms out. She later confronts Parker Selfridge, the RDA administrator, arguing that Jake has no scientific background and is physically unfit for the mission. Parker disagrees, reminding her that Jake's genetic match with Tom makes him the only person who can operate Tom's avatar. The next day, Jake and Norm link into their avatars.
Sequence unit 3, go. Nice activity.
Phase lock 99%, link is stable.
Can you hear me, Jake?
Jake wakes up in his Na'vi body.
Good.
Thummy fingers.
No problem.
That's good. I can see you can remember that one.
Got it.
Stunned to find he can use his legs again after years in a wheelchair.
To run, to take it easy.
Wait.
Jake,
Sit down,
Jake,
Jake.
listen to me. Just to the end. Jake, watch it. Jake.
Overjoyed, he ignores the doctor's warnings and bolts out to the recreation area where other avatars are running and playing sports.
Hey, it's okay. I'll get him.
Jake, you have to come
Jake,
back.
Jake. Sorry. Come on. Oh, jeez.
Hey, Marine!
Grace?
Well, who'd you expect, numbnuts? Think fast. Come on, everybody, quiet down.
Hey.
Blind.
That's kind of freaky.
Lights out.
When Jake's avatar eventually goes to sleep, the link ends and he wakes up in his human body again. Not long after, Jake has a private talk with Colonel Quaritch. He asks about the true purpose of the mission, and the Colonel reveals the reality. Pandora contains a rare mineral called unobtainium, valued at billions back on Earth. The largest deposits lie directly beneath the Na'vi's home. Since the Na'vi refuse to give up their land, Jake's assignment is to gain their trust and persuade them to relocate. The Colonel gives him 3 months to succeed, promising Jake a brand new pair of legs if he pulls it off, but he also warns, if Jake fails, the military will step in, and the result will likely be the total destruction of the Na'vi people. The following day, Jake links with his avatar and joins Grace, Norm, and the rest of the team as they fly over Pandora's breathtaking landscapes.
Looks like the bow, a dozen cows, and some...
They eventually land to collect plant samples.
Scanning. It's that fast?
Amazing.
But Jake, still unfamiliar with the alien environment, gets distracted and wanders off into a field of glowing flowers.
They're not aggressive. Relax, Marine. I keep hoping.
Why don't they come back?
Hold your ground.
Suddenly, a massive predator called a Thanator, resembling a giant panther, emerges and charges at him. The beast separates Jake from the others, forcing him to run for his life. At the last second, he dives off a waterfall to escape, while the Thanator snarls from above. His team searches for him, but as night falls, they're forced to head back without him. Alone and weaponless, Jake sharpens a stick into a makeshift spear. Watching from the shadows is a female Na'vi, Neytiri. She raises her bow to strike him, but before she can release, a small glowing spirit lands gently on her weapon, stopping her. Moments later, Jake is ambushed by a pack of viper wolves.
I don't have all goddamn night.
Just as things look hopeless, Neytiri steps in and drives the creatures away. She isn't pleased with Jake, though, and scolds him, telling him to return to his own people. She turns to leave, but Jake follows, pleading with her to teach him how to survive. At first, she refuses.
Okay, take me with you.
No. Go back.
Until dozens of the same glowing spirits that stopped her arrow earlier float down and settle on Jake's body.
What are they?
Seeds of the sacred tree, very pure spirits.
Taking this as a sign, Neytiri reluctantly decides to lead him back to her home, the Omaticaya clan. When they arrive, the Na'vi react with hostility toward the outsider. Sute, Neytiri's betrothed and future leader of the clan, calls for Jake's immediate execution. Neytiri stops him and instead presents Jake to her parents. A Tuken and Moat, the clan's leaders.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Jake explains that he is a warrior who wishes to learn their ways. Moat, the spiritual leader, pricks his chest, tastes his blood, and declares that his spirit is pure. She instructs Neytiri to train him in their traditions. That night, Jake is given a hammock-like bed woven high above the ground. As his avatar drifts to sleep, his human body wakes up in the lab. The next morning, he tells Grace and the other scientists about the surreal experience, but the Colonel reminds him again. He only has 3 months to complete his mission. We then see Jake recording a video log, documenting each day's progress. He explains how Neytiri is training him to live like the Na'vi.
Naughty.
I have to trust my body to know what to do.
One day, she takes him to bond with a creature called a dire horse. Hesitant at first, Jake finally connects his neural cue to the animal and learns how to ride it.
That is Sahelu, the bond. Feel her. Feel her heartbeat. Now, say where to go.
Forward.
Exhilarated by the experience. Later, he reports back to the Colonel and Parker Selfridge, telling them about Home Tree, the enormous dwelling of the Omaticaya, and the rich deposit of unobtainium beneath it. The Colonel sees a chance to destroy Home Tree, but Jake insists on trying diplomacy, asking for more time to win the Na'vi's trust. Meanwhile, Grace grows suspicious of how Jake is being used. She relocates her team to the Hallelujah Mountains, massive floating islands considered sacred by the Na'vi, so they can continue their research away from RDA's interference. Grace makes it clear that she came to Pandora for science, not for mining.
Ikran is not horse. When Sahelu is made.
Neytiri shows Jake to flying on a banshees. And Jake is stunned to see this.
Now you choose your Ikran.
And even Jake connect with banshees too.
Shut up and fly straight!
While flying with Neytiri one day, Jake is suddenly attacked by a Toruk, a gigantic, brightly colored predator feared for hunting anything in the skies. They narrowly escape back to Home Tree, where Neytiri shows him the skeleton of a Toruk slain long ago. She tells him that the last rider of a Toruk was her great-grandfather, who united the 5 clans during a time of great crisis. Since then, no one has dared to attempt it again. As time passes, the Omaticaya slowly begin to accept Jake. They even hold a ceremony to welcome him into the tribe. Afterward, Neytiri takes him to the Tree of Voices, a sacred place of prayer where the Na'vi connect through the tendrils of their hair. There, she tells him he is free to choose a mate. Jake chooses her. Shocked but touched, Neytiri accepts, and the two share their first kiss. That night, they consummate their bond beneath the tree. The next morning, Jake wakes in human form, while Neytiri stirs to the sound of machines. She sees bulldozers tearing through the forest, knocking down trees in a wave of destruction. Realizing their home is under attack, she desperately tries to pull Jake to safety. At the remote outpost, Jake prepares to reconnect with his avatar. Once he's back inside his Na'vi body,
He's blocking my blade.
Keep going, he'll move. Come on, go.
He climbs onto one of the bulldozers, desperately trying to stop the destruction.
Whoa, dude. Whoa, dude, no. Oh!
Jake narrowly escapes and makes it back to Hometree. Meanwhile, at the base, Colonel Quaritch reviews the surveillance footage and recognizes Jake as the Avatar who interfered with the operation. Furious, he storms into the control room, looking for Jake and Grace, while the bulldozers continue to ravage the Omatakaya's sacred lands. Back at Hometree, the Na'vi gather and prepare for battle. Jake and Grace plead with them not to fight, but tensions rise when Sute discovers that Jake and Neytiri have bonded for life, despite Neytiri being promised to him. Enraged, Sute tries to kill Jake. Before things can escalate further, both Jake and Grace's avatars collapse as their links are suddenly severed by the Colonel. Later, Grace furiously confronts the RDA and military leaders. She explains that Pandora's trees form a vast neural network, one with more synaptic connections than the entire human brain. She and Jake insist that the Na'vi will never abandon Hometree. Hearing this, the Colonel orders an assault, planning to gas the Na'vi out. Alarmed, Jake begs Parker Selfridge, the RDA administrator, to let him return in his avatar and warn the Na'vi. Parker reluctantly agrees, but gives him only 1 hour to convince them to leave. Once Jake reconnects, he rushes to the Omatakaya and warns them of the coming attack. He admits that he is one of the humans, which devastates Neytiri and shatters her trust. Heartbroken, she rejects him, and the Na'vi take both Jake and Grace hostage. Soon after, human forces arrive in massive gunships. The Na'vi fight bravely, but their bows and arrows are no match for heavy artillery.
These dumb bastards ain't getting the message. Switch incendiaries.
Explosions rip through the forest, and Hometree collapses in flames, killing many of the Na'vi. Amid the chaos, Moat, the Na'vi queen, releases Jake and Grace, begging them to save the people. Jake tries to comfort Neytiri, but she pushes him away in grief. During the battle, Etukan, Neytiri's father, is fatally wounded. Before dying, he passes his sacred bow to her, entrusting her with the duty of leading their people. Back in their human forms, Jake and Grace are arrested for treason, with Norm also detained after trying to stop the troops from shutting down the Avatar link. The surviving Omatakaya regroup at the Tree of Souls, their most sacred site. At the RDA base, Jake and his friends are secretly freed by Trudy, their sympathetic pilot.
Max!
Who flies them out in her gunship. But during the escape, Quaritch spots them and opens fire, badly injuring Grace. The group makes it to the floating mountains, where Jake re-enters his avatar body. Realizing the Na'vi will never accept him as he is, he takes an enormous risk, attempting to tame the Toruk, a ferocious flying beast feared by all. Approaching it from above, he leaps onto its back in a daring move that could cost him his life. Later, during a ritual at the Tree of Souls, Jake stuns the Na'vi by arriving on the Toruk. The Omatakaya, awestruck, welcome him back with honor and respect. Jake then asks Tsute to fight by his side against the humans. And Tsute agrees. Together, they prepare for war. Jake also attempts to save Grace, even seeking the help of Moat in a sacred healing ritual. Tragically, their efforts fail, and Grace dies, strengthening Jake's resolve. Fueled by loss and anger, he rallies the Na'vi, urging them to unite and drive the humans off their world. By the end of the day, Jake leads a growing army.
It's the whole...
uniting thousands of Na'vi from rival clans to stand against the invaders. Meanwhile, Colonel Quaritch spots the Na'vi massing in huge numbers and redirects his forces toward the Tree of Souls. Confident, he orders his men to advance.
Let's bring the pain. Charlie 2-1, watch your space.
But to his shock, the Na'vi are already there, both on the ground and in the skies. Jake swoops in on the mighty Toruk, while Tsute and the warriors steel themselves to give their lives for their home. A brutal battle erupts, with casualties mounting on both sides. At first, the humans' firepower gives them the upper hand. But the Na'vi gradually push back with the help of their dire horses and banshees, overwhelming the ground forces.
Weapon spree! Break right, come around.
During the chaos, Jake is targeted by the Colonel's massive dragon assault ship. Just as it seems Jake is cornered, Trudy arrives in her gunship, raining fire on the Colonel and buying Jake time to escape. Elsewhere, Neytiri's Banshee is shot down. Killing the creature, while Tsute falls in a fiery explosion. Watching the destruction from the ground, Neytiri is stricken with grief. At the same time, a massive bomber ship closes in on the Tree of Souls, ready to obliterate it. But then, out of the shattered forest, a stampede of Titanotheres, Pandora's hulking, armored beasts, charges onto the battlefield, slamming into human troops and machinery. Neytiri rallies the fight with the help of Pandora's wildlife, which seems to have joined the Na'vi side. Incredibly, even a fearsome Thanator appears before her and bows in submission. As the humans' ground forces falter, Jake dives with his Toruk toward the bomber ship. He hurls grenades into it, causing the vessel to spiral down and crash far from the Tree of Souls. Jake then attacks the Colonel's dragon with explosives, destroying it. But Quaritch ejects in his AMP suit, escaping the blast. The Colonel makes his way to Grace's improvised base, where Jake's avatar pod is located. He tries to cut Jake's connection permanently, but before he can, Neytiri charges in on the Thanator. The beast lunges at the Colonel, but he kills it with his suit's weapons, pinning Neytiri beneath the wreckage. He raises his blade to finish her off when Jake arrives in his avatar body. The two clash in a fierce hand-to-hand fight. Despite Jake's strength, the Colonel eventually gains the upper hand. And nearly delivers the killing blow. But at the last moment, Neytiri frees herself and fires an arrow straight into the Colonel's chest. She immediately follows with a second shot, this time killing him for good. Still, the damage is done. Quaritch's attack has critically damaged Jake's pod, leaving his human body gasping for air, barely able to fit his mask. Just as he's about to suffocate, Neytiri rushes in, carefully placing the mask on his face and saving him. For the first time, she holds Jake's fragile human body in her arms, truly seeing the man inside the avatar. In the final scene, Jake records his last video log. He explains that he has chosen to leave his human body behind and permanently transfer his consciousness into his avatar. The film ends with a sacred Na'vi ritual, as Jake awakens in his new body for good, Neytiri standing over him with love in her eyes. A few years later, Jake's Sully narrating his life as the chief of his clan on Pandora, where he enjoys a simple, peaceful existence with his family. He explains that he and his wife, Neytiri, have 5 kids, 2 sons, Nitayam and Loak, their young daughter Tuk, their adopted daughter Kiri, and a human boy named Spider. Jake clarifies that Kiri is the daughter of his late friend Grace, who gave her life fighting alongside the Na'vi. Spider, on the other hand, was left behind when the humans retreated to Earth after losing the war. Jake says the kids are close, always looking out for one another, and though they differ in size and appearance, they've grown up like a real family. Still, Neytiri has never trusted Spider, because he's actually the son of Colonel Miles Quaritch, the man who nearly destroyed the Na'vi. Spider remained on Pandora only because he was too young to be transported back to Earth. Kiri, however, has a deep bond with him and cares for him like a sibling. Since Spider has spent his whole life among the Na'vi, he believes he belongs with them. One night, while Jake and Neytiri are talking, they spot glowing ships in the sky. Suddenly, those ships descend and unleash destruction. The Omaticaya village is set ablaze, animals are killed. And soldiers armed with powerful machines sweep in to finish the job. From a distance, Jake and Neytiri realize the attackers are RDA forces, back on Pandora to colonize it again and establish a new base of operations. The scene then cuts to a human lab where scientists have created an avatar clone of Colonel Quaritch. His clone carries all of Quaritch's memories up until his death, though he doesn't know who killed him.
Colonel, stand down! Colonel, it's me! Corporal Winfleet!
Along with him, several other fallen soldiers have also been revived in Na'vi bodies.
Ain't this a bitch?
Together, they're determined to hunt down the Omaticaya, and especially Jake. Meanwhile, Jake leads a raid on the RDA's supply train. Striking at their resources. The mission is a success. They seize weapons and food, but during the fight, his son Loak disobeys orders and ends up injured. Jake scolds him, demanding he be more disciplined next time. Elsewhere, Quaritch meets with his superior, General Ardmore, who briefs him on the Na'vi's flying mounts, the skim wings, which have been slowing down their aircraft. Quaritch responds with a plan to move into the forest battlefield where he once fought, to learn more about his enemies.
And how might we test that hypothesis, General?
The hard way.
Outstanding.
When he arrives with his squad, Jake's kids happen to be nearby, playing in the same forest.
I'll tell Mom if you don't let me come.
Don't pick on her.
While surveying the battlefield, Quaritch comes across his old AMP suit, with his human remains still inside.
There's remains.
Loak, watching from the shadows, secretly reports this to Jake using his communicator. Jake warns him to stay hidden and leave quietly, but before the children can escape, they're captured by Quaritch's troops. Inspecting them, Quaritch notices their fingers and quickly realizes they're Jake's children. When Quaritch questions Spider about his identity, he figures out the truth. Spider is his son. Just then, Jake and Neytiri swoop in and launch an attack.
Get back here!
Why don't you come on out, Mr. Sully?
I will kill you as many times as I have to.
Spider!
They manage to rescue most of their kids, but Spider is taken by the RDA.
Fall back! Move out! Move!
Okay, we're clear.
Back at the Omaticaya home, Jake talks to Neytiri and suggests they leave for the eastern seaboard. He's worried that Spider might reveal their location to Quaritch and his men. Jake also admits that as long as he stays with the tribe, the humans will never stop attacking, because he was the one who killed Quaritch in the first place. Neytiri hates the idea of abandoning her beloved home, but she knows Jake is right. Reluctantly, she agrees to go. Meanwhile, General Ardmore tortures Spider by strapping him into a spinning interrogation machine, trying to force information out of him. But Spider stays loyal to his Na'vi family and refuses to talk. Surprisingly, Quaritch can't stand watching his son suffer. He orders the machine stopped and tells Ardmore he'll deal with Spider himself. Later, he meets with the boy privately, trying to reassure him that he's not a monster. He even says he wants to take him back to Earth. This softens Spider's heart, and eventually he gives Quaritch the information he's after. The story shifts back to Jake's family. They take flight on their Ikrans and leave their forest home behind. After days of travel, they finally reach Metkayina territory, where a different Na'vi clan lives by the ocean.
Hey, leave it. Be nice.
These Na'vi are lighter in color and adapted to water life. Seeing Jake's family, they mock their appearance.
Do not. Roto. Aunu.
Hey.
Soon, the clan's chief, Tonawari, and his wife arrive.
Tonawari. Like Sully. I knew him as a...
You now. Sahika the Metkayina.
I see you, Ronald.
Skeptical, Tonawari points out that Jake's family isn't built for the water and doubts they'll survive, but Jake pleads with him, promising they'll learn quickly and adapt.
The tails are weak. You'll be slow in the water. Are not even true Na'vi. They have demon blood!
Look! Look! Look, I was born of the Sky People, and now I am Na'vi, right? You can adapt. We will adapt.
Hiding. among strangers. Chosen one.
He also explains that they're being hunted by humans. After hearing this, Tonowari agrees to let them stay and orders his children to teach Jake's kids how to swim and bond with the sea creatures.
This is great. It's nice.
Tonowari's children begin training their new friends in the ocean. Mischievous as always, Loak tries to connect with a sea creature, but quickly loses control and falls into the water, causing Tonowari's kids to laugh at him. Meanwhile, Kiri is seen diving deep into the ocean, where she shows a natural affinity for the water. She even demonstrates the ability to connect with sea life in ways others can't. The next day, while Kiri is meditating underwater, Tonowari's son Aonung and his friends mock her, calling her a freak. Loak jumps to her defense and punches Aonung.
So stupid!
Later, Jake finds out and scolds his son, demanding he apologize since Aonung is the clan leader's child. Loak reluctantly apologizes, and although Aonung accepts in public, he still holds a grudge. Wanting revenge, Aonung tricks Loak into swimming in a dangerous area full of predators. While Loak fishing, all boys leave him alone silently.
Hey!
At that time, a massive sea predator charges at him. Terrified and alone, he thinks he's doomed, until a gigantic creature named Payakan comes to his rescue. Payakan smashes the predator with its huge head, saving Loak's life. We learn that Payakan is a tulkun, a species of intelligent and peaceful sea creatures deeply respected by the Metkayina, who see them as spiritual family. Payakan is the largest and most powerful of them all. After pulling some harpoons from Payakan's body to help him, Loak and the tulkun form a strong bond. Payakan even brings him safely back to the surface. Later, Tonowari finds out about the incident and demands his son Aonung apologize. But Loak, in a selfless act, takes the blame and insists Aonung wasn't at fault. This finally makes Aonung realize Jake's family isn't as bad as he thought. Later, Loak tells his brother and friends about how Payakan saved him. To his surprise, they don't believe him. Instead, they reveal that Payakan is considered an outcast, a killer, and that's why the other Tulkuns have abandoned him. Meanwhile, Spider continues teaching Quaritch about Na'vi culture and even takes him to the Hallelujah Mountains so he can bond with an Ikran. At first, Quaritch struggles, but eventually he gets the hang of it and takes to the skies. Soon after, he learns where Jake might be hiding and leads his forces toward the Metkayina Reef. When they arrive, Quaritch questions some of the reef people about Jake's whereabouts. When they deny knowing him, the humans respond with violence, killing one villager and burning their homes. Still, the Metkayina refuse to betray Jake. With no leads, Quaritch moves to Plan B, slaughtering the Tulkuns. Not only will it force Jake out of hiding, but the Tulkuns' brains contain a priceless fluid that halts aging. Back on Earth, a single leader is worth millions. Soon, hunters set out after the creatures. They fire tracking devices into them, knocking many unconscious.
Straight up on her!
In one devastating scene, a mother Tulkun is brutally killed while her calf remains by her side, stunned and grieving.
Drill up through the hard
Mathematics.
So that's what this is all.
The humans sail off, leaving the trackers embedded in the animals. When the Metkayina discover their sacred allies are being massacred, they prepare for battle, but Jake urges restraint, saying they must first warn the Tulkuns about the trackers. Otherwise, they'll be wiped out. Hearing this, Loak races off to warn his friend Payakan, joined reluctantly by Aunung and a few others. They find Payakan and begin pulling the tracker out of him, just as Quaritch and his whaling ship arrive. Loak immediately calls his father to report what's happening. Luckily, the kids manage to rip out the tracker and then dive underwater to hide as the soldiers search for them. Meanwhile, Jake informs Tonawari that their children are missing. Alarmed, the chief mobilizes his people for war. Jake and Neytiri arm themselves as well, and together with the Metkayina, they head into battle. On the whale ship, Quaritch orders his men to hunt down Jake's children. Eventually, they capture Kiri and Tuck in a net. Loak tries to free them, but is dragged onto the ship as well. Quaritch shackles the kids to the railing and seizes Loak's communicator.
Dad!
daughter, Suk, Loak.
Demanding Jake surrender if he wants them to live. With no choice, Jake agrees. But before Quaritch can act further, Payakan sees his friend Loak bound on the deck. In a daring move, the Tulkun hurls itself onto the ship. Smashing soldiers aside and tearing into the vessel with its massive fins. Using the chaos, Jake and the Metkayina launch their counterattack, fighting not only to rescue their children, but also to avenge their people. At the same time, Spider sabotages the whale ship's control system, causing it to crash into the rocks and begin flooding. Jake and his eldest son, Neytiri, rush onto the deck, freeing Loak, Tuck, and Kiri. They tell the younger kids to escape to safety, but Loak refuses. He wants to rescue Spider. Neytiri goes with him, and together they find him. As they make their way out, Quaritch spots them and opens fire. Tragically, Neytiri is hit and badly wounded. Loak and Spider rush him back to shore, but the injuries are too severe. Neytiri dies in Neytiri's arms, leaving her devastated as she cries out in grief. Meanwhile, Quaritch manages to capture Kiri and Tuck with his Ikron. He then contacts Jake, revealing that both of his daughters are in his custody. Hearing this, Jake struggles to calm Neytiri, but eventually convinces her to join him in rescuing their girls. Fueled by rage, Neytiri summons her Ikron, grabs her bow and arrows, and flies straight toward the enemy ship. Jake reaches the vessel first and triggers an explosion, killing several of Quaritch's men. Moments later, Neytiri arrives, raining down arrows and taking out the remaining soldiers. In the chaos, Jake finds Tuck and frees her, but Quaritch suddenly appears, holding Kiri at knife point. He demands Jake drop his weapons, and Jake reluctantly obeys. At the same time, a furious Neytiri seizes Spider and threatens to kill him. Quaritch initially insists Spider means nothing to him, until Neytiri makes a small cut across the boy's chest. Unable to stand by, Quaritch releases Kiri. With that, Neytiri regroups with her family to leave, but Quaritch warns Jake that he'll never stop hunting him down. Realizing peace will never be possible while Quaritch lives, Jake returns to face him one final time. The two rivals clash in a brutal hand-to-hand fight. Blow for blow, they're evenly matched, but ultimately Jake gains the upper hand. He locks Quaritch in a chokehold and knocks him unconscious, leaving him to sink beneath the water. Believing his enemy defeated, Jake himself begins to drown, but Loak arrives just in time, rescuing his father and pulling him to the surface. Meanwhile, Spider makes a surprising choice. Though he pulls his biological father from the water and saves him, when Quaritch asks him to leave together, Spider refuses. He returns instead to his true adoptive family. In the final scene, Jake's family and the Metkayina lay Neteyam to rest in the ocean depths, where glowing sea tendrils surround him like an embrace. The film closes with Jake reflecting on his son's life, cherishing their memories, and finding comfort in the belief that Neteyam is now with Eywa, at peace. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to support the channel. Thank you for watching.